Kentucky Esports Weekly is off and running in another exciting episode filled full of information, humor, and competition. It's esports. I'm your host, Nathan Stevens, and I'm ready to take you on a video game journey that is featuring news, history, and the 5 questions game played with Alex Cutadean and myself. Anyway, sit back and relax and enjoy the intellectual dish we have prepared for you, starting with quick hitters. Alright, starting us off, EA and Respawn Entertainment announced a summer circuit for the Apex Legends Global Series that's set to last 4 months online with it, at the end of this rainbow, a $500,000 prize pot and eternal glory. The tournament kicks off on June 20th and is aiming to put regional leaders head-to-head, where the winners will ultimately battle up in a September 12th and 13th playoff for that huge money pot of glory. The summer circuit will be held live on EA's Twitch and YouTube streaming channels and will include such teams as Ad Hoc Gaming, Team Solo Made in Thailand 2, apparently that's a sequel, Scars White, and Team Faro. So that's some good competition, I guess, to look forward to. This looks to be another exciting esports tournament for people to pass the pandemic time. And while you're passing the time, you should always consider Pringles, which is our next bit of news. File this under once you pop, you can't stop sponsoring ESL. Yeah, I know, it's a dead joke. According to esportsinsider.com, Adam Fitch, Pringles and ESL announced that the chip maker has renewed its sponsorship of ESL events related to Germany, Nordic, and Poland regions for the ESL National Championship. Doris Filseth, Market Activation Lead High Growth Markets at Kellogg Company, gosh, that's a long title for a business card, spoke on the deal to say, "We are first mover within ESL sponsoring and are happy about the positive development of this collaboration." A remarkable thing about esports is just how you can forget how many different food and drink companies make sense with sponsoring esports events. Pringles just seems like a natural fit to anything esports related. You know, they could probably sponsor my trip from my couch to the kitchen, and it would make sense. They're perfect for any situation, and for gamers especially. I mean, Pringles are just delicious to have, and it's definitely a gamer's food company. So that's neat to see that they're continuing their sponsorship. So what's also neat to see is Fernando Alonso won again in the Torque Esports events this past weekend. So Fernando Alonso pulled out another victory in the Race All-Star Series run by Torque Esports. Alonso pulled off a pair of wins at Silverstone this past weekend, which makes 2 weekends in a row that the Formula One driver dominated. After the victory, Alonso had this to say: "When I made my debut 3 weeks ago, I had also just had my sim rig installed. It's a bit of a mess, and the car is tricky and difficult to drive for the first time. Obviously, Silverstone, I know very well the track, and that was an advantage for this weekend." The guy's getting really good in his esports transition, and gamers and drivers better take note of that. And they might want to cross their fingers that the real-world version of Fernando's life starts again, so that he can be less victorious in the esports Formula One arena. But on that note, that's it for quick hitters. So let's shift over to the industry news with Hailey and Tyler.
Hello, I'm Tyler Ralston.
And I'm Hailey Salyers.
And this is the week's industry news.
Let's start with The Last of Us Part 2. In Sony's May 27th PlayStation State of Play presentation, the company revealed a 20-minute preview of the game. The preview, consisting of gameplay footage narrated by Naughty Dog Vice President and Director of The Last of Us Part 2, Neil Druckmann, gave viewers a sense of the story and a tease of some of the new gameplay mechanics and upgrades. 8 of those 20 minutes look specifically at Ellie and confirm some combat abilities she will have this time. These changes include the ability to use a rope to scale buildings, dodge enemy attacks, make enemies fight each other, craft explosive arrows, and fight trained enemy dogs. These are abilities that Joel did not have in the original game. The Last of Us Part 2 won't be released until June 19th, but players can pre-order the game now. Each pre-order comes with 2 in-game bonuses, an ammo capacity upgrade for Ellie, and a crafting training manual. Players who pre-order the digital game directly from the PlayStation Store will also receive an exclusive avatar of Ellie's new tattoo.
In other news, Behavior Interactive has released a new trailer for Dead by Daylight, showcasing the horrors coming to the realm of their supreme evil known only as the Entity. The game is an asymmetric multiplayer horror title, pitting 4 players' survival skills against 1 player's hunting skills, with a variety of characters from both Behavior Interactive's imagination and crossovers with other franchises such as Stranger Things or Nightmare on Elm Street. In this specific expansion, the world of Silent Hill becomes tied to this realm of nightmares as the Pyramid Head stalks around Midwich Elementary School and Cheryl Mason joins the efforts to escape. The details of characters' abilities are still being withheld for the moment, but it is known that Pyramid Head, going by the in-game title of The Executioner, has the ability to phase his attacks through objects, dig trenches that serve as obstacles for their survivors, and even trap the survivors in the Cage of Atonement, rather than hanging them on meat hooks like many of the other killers. All these new features of this update are available in the testing build of Dead by Daylight, but have an official release set for June 16th for both PC and consoles.
In other gaming news, Minecraft Dungeons is now available. While similar in look and style to the original Minecraft, this game is more about strategy than building. Minecraft Dungeons is a simplified version of the popular Dungeon Crawlers game genre, and requires players to take time to plan and strategize. After a quick tutorial, players are asked to select a look for their avatar. These basic designs can't really be altered, but players can add different gear, including armor and weapons, throughout their character's journey. The core story, a good versus evil fight between players and an evil illager, shouldn't take too long to complete. The quest can then be repeated on different difficulty settings. The higher the difficulty, the better the loot that gets dropped. This includes stronger weapons and armor. Minecraft Dungeons gives players 6 total slots for weapons, armor, and magical abilities, but players can enchant their weapons and armor for different effects by using enchantment points. The use of enchantment points requires players to prioritize and strategize, but no enchantments are permanent, and these points can be salvaged from old gear. The game also requires players to strategize in how they work as a team, or if they want a real challenge, how to complete the game in solo mode. While the original Minecraft allowed players to express creativity through building, Minecraft Dungeons asks its players to be creative in their strategy, gear decisions, and tactical planning. Minecraft Dungeons is available now for Windows, Xbox One, Xbox Game Pass, PS4, and Nintendo Switch.
On May 29th, Larian Studios released a small teaser for their highly anticipated upcoming title, Baldur's Gate 3. The footage gives glimpses of features from spell use to environmental art, effects, and destruction, as well as stealth. There are also a few brief moments that appear to hint at the location known in Dungeons & Dragons as the Underdark, which begs the question of possible travel to such locations or even other planes of existence within that universe. The final moments of the trailer showed the game's logo and title before fading in a set date for June 6th for more details to be unveiled. And for our last story, possibly the most anticipated addition to the Halo the Master Chief collection on PC, is finally on the horizon as PC flighting. The beta testing phase for Halo 3 is set to begin in June. Those who have signed up for the Halo Insider program and opted into these testing phases may soon be getting emails to confirm they are being asked to participate. Now, as for the main features this flight will include, here's a list. Halo 3's customization, Forge, Theater, Challenges, the campaign limited to the levels Sierra 117, The Storm, The Ark, The Covenant, and Halo, social and competitive multiplayer modes, and multiplayer maps, including Construct, Guardian, Last Resort, Narrows, Sandtrap, The Pit, Valhalla, Foundry, Standoff, Avalanche, Sandbox, and Heretic. Hoping participants should keep in mind that inclusion of these features is still subject to change at 343's discretion. That is all for this week's industry news. Now we go back to Nathan.
Thank you, Hailey and Tyler. Staying with the industry, but going back in time a little bit, another quick trip down memory lane, and this time it's Blizzard's story. Welcome back to Replay Rewind.
For a second there, I thought that it was going to be the reset. They have nowhere to go. You can't back into traffic. And there it is. Jake gets the Mitsu green. The player advantage right now coming right back.
Welcome, boys and girls, to High Five. In this segment, we cover all sorts of history with video games, video game companies, and their impact on the video game industry. Today, we're talking about Blizzard Entertainment. Blizzard Entertainment was founded by Michael Morhaime, Alan Denham, and Frank Pierce as Silicon and Synapse in February 8, 1991. The name Silicon and Synapse was a high concept from the three founders, with silicon representing the building blocks of a computer, while synapse the building blocks of the brain. During the first 2 years, the company focused on creating game ports for other studios. Ports included titles such as J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, Volume 1, and Battle Chess 2, Chinese Chess. In 1993, they decided to make their own games, such as Rockin' and Rollin' Racin' and The Lost Vikings. Around 1993, co-founder Adham told the other executives that he did not like the names Silicon and Synapse anymore, as people outside the company were confusing the meaning of silicon, the chemical element used in microchips, with silicone, the material used in breast implants. By the end of 1993, Adham changed the name to Chaos Studios, reflecting the hyper-hazardness of their development processes, which the company Chaos Technology wasn't really happy with. After several name changes, they looked up random words in the dictionary until they found Blizzard. It wasn't taken, so what the heck? Maybe there's a metaphorical meaning behind it. Their first game as Blizzard was Warcraft, Orcs and Humans, a real-time strategy game. Then they acquired Condor Games, who made Diablo, a role-playing dungeon crawler.
Yes, my lord. Yes. Ready to serve. All right. Yes, my lord. We are under attack.
After the success of Warcraft 2, they developed a futuristic sci-fi real-time strategy game called StarCraft. Afterwards came Diablo 2.
Greetings, stranger. I'm not surprised to see your kind here.
There are many foes here.
And Warcraft 3.
Justice has come.
Then came the big one, World of Warcraft. This was a massive, and when I mean massive, it was massive, multiplayer online game that took the world by storm. This made Blizzard so much money that they basically became a AAA company overnight.
That power will be your prison.
This world is a prison.
World of Warcraft also has held a total 8 expansions so far, including World of Warcraft Classic, which takes the game back to its roots. World of Warcraft essentially became a pioneer for MMOs for the rest of time. But why stop there? Then they came out with StarCraft 2, Diablo 3, Hearthstone, a collectible card game in the World of Warcraft universe, and Heroes of Storm, a
MOBA
like League of Legends but with all the Blizzard characters all in one place. Blizzard has even made their own convention called BlizzCon for all fans of these games. Blizzard then released Overwatch, which changed the game for the hero shooter genre. This game, along with all the other games, had a Saturday morning cartoon feel to them that made it feel nostalgic and adventurous at the same time. All these games have a huge esports presence that bring in tons of millions of viewers.
Into the fight with Chips Hyan and the Valkyrie and getting the quick res onto XQC. And soon back at...
Although Blizzard has had some hiccups in their community, we can still hope that they have their eye on the ball. But in the meantime, make sure to look forward to games such as Overwatch 2, Diablo Immortal, and Diablo 4. And that's a wrap, boys and gals. History in 5 minutes. Make sure to follow. Job's done.
Thank you, Elias. Blizzard is quite the fascinating story and the tale and how they came to be with Activision. They're an interesting company, and they always seem full of good people. But video game history is something you should always look back on when you're trying to figure out like which company in the current or future generation is going to either make the biggest impact or fall flat on their face. History is always a good roadmap when predicting such things. The industry is notorious for repeating its same mistakes. Notorious. The last 2 generations are proof of that. We had the PlayStation 3 that was coming from the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 still the most successful selling console of all time. And going into the PlayStation 3, I'm pretty sure Sony had some high hopes that all those folks who bought the PS2 would go to the PS3, and that didn't happen. And same thing with this generation. I'm pretty sure Microsoft had expectations that people who bought the 360 would certainly be loyal enough to come over to the Xbox One, regardless of what it was, and that didn't happen either. So it's interesting. History in the video game industry is always telling. So, anyway, speaking of roadmaps through history, we're going to hit a rest stop right now on our show's roadmap, and we're stopping at Push to Talk with Nick Hughes and his giggling group of video game groupies. Starts right now.
Greetings, viewers. We never claim to be good at intros, so we're just not going to do one. We're just going to get right into it. You know who we are. How's everyone been doing? What are some things you've been playing really quick?
I got back into Diablo 3. I'm not happy.
Have you really? Why didn't you tell me that? We could play I love Diablo 3. I have
it on the Switch, not the PC. I don't know my old account for the PC version I have.
Super lame. What have you been playing, Elias?
I've been playing Last of Us Remastered.
Nice. Yeah, wait, have you played Last of Us before? Is this your first playthrough?
Yeah, I have played it before. I'm playing it on hard difficulty now. But I'm just doing it again because of Last of Us 2 about to come out and stuff.
I hear you. We'll talk about that. What have you been playing, Morgan?
Well, I'm still keeping to Animal Crossing.
Hey, someone's got to keep it alive.
Yeah.
Someone's got to keep filling Tom Nook's pockets.
Oh, I know. Gotta keep the Animal Crossing news updated. So,
gotta keep that econ going.
There you go. See, that's
Jude and I have been playing a lot of Terraria 1.4 update. The final Terraria update. One day last week, Jude and I literally played for
11 or 12 hours.
Literally 11 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible game.
We played from 3 until 4 a.m. I think it was.
Yeah,
maybe 13. Honestly,
it was nuts. We took some break for food, but
we took 2 breaks.
It was honestly
way too long.
Amount of gaming. Yeah,
for sure.
So
yeah, another game that I started playing that just came out was Minecraft Dungeons.
You like that? I saw that. Do you like it?
It's actually okay. It's okay. It's like
a dungeon crawler, isometric dungeon crawler type deal. Kind of
it's like a Diablo for younger people, I guess.
Yeah, interesting.
It's like
I'm a little baby and I could play Diablo 3, so just saying.
First bit of news, ladies and gents. Valorant.
Yeah.
June 2nd.
Sucks.
Full release. New agent Reyna. She looks like she's a healer kind of, but a more offensive-minded healer than Sage. She can overheal. She seems vampiric.
Oh, that sounds cool, actually.
Yeah, I'm there. I don't think there's too much out about her other than a little clip that people have just dissected to.
Do they know if you can survive the op with overheal?
Dude, the op is so stupid, and we'll get to that. But yeah, full release is on June 2nd. Please play it. For everyone out there watching this, just know that not everyone played the beta. Not everyone played Counter-Strike. So not everyone is going to be an expert at the game. So don't tear their heads off in all chat. I'm going to, but you all shouldn't.
100%.
Yeah, you really shouldn't. The game's deceptively hard. I have a few hours of Counter-Strike, some 500 on my belt, and it was still pretty hard for me to get into. So.
Hey, your Valorant premiere was...
I know, dude, but that's not normal.
Jude watched our streams and coached us for so long, screaming at us to take Buckies and Shorties, the shotguns of the game. We never listened to him. Then Jude plays his first game of Valorant and then gets a double kill first round with a Shorty. It was see, boys, it's easy.
Yeah, it was pretty easy.
But
it got hard, but whatever.
Yeah, no, Valorant's an incredible game. It's really fun. It's also really high skill cap, so...
Yeah.
So people, you definitely need to play Valorant. That's for sure.
It's free, so no excuse.
It is free.
Do you think they're going to put crossover skins with League and Valorant?
Eventually, I'm sure. Maybe not at first because they don't want to ruin this.
Down the road, because there's some.
I'm talking about just skins, not characters.
Right. I see this as a possibility. There are some League references already in Valorant. There's this little monster, this neutral objective monster in League of Legends on Summoner's Rift called the Scuttle Crab. It's in the river. You kill it, it gives you vision, gold, experience, etc. And in Valorant on one of the maps, there's a Scuttle Shack. It's got a Scuttle Crab on it. It's like a, cool. There are also garbage cans in Valorant, so that's a Yasuo.
That's a League reference.
Yeah.
No, just that League is garbage.
Well,
yeah, that's a League reference. The whole game right there.
You think they're gonna do like Valorant skins in League? Like they're gonna make a.
Oh, that one I feel like they could do like hands down super easily because League is already kind of ruined its art style. So go for it.
Yeah, and also I don't know, some of the characters are like cut and paste from League. Like Phoenix in Valorant is literally Echo. I feel like similar to him. He uses the same abilities, like the rewind mechanic.
I feel like it'll be a good skin though.
No, yeah. I mean, they said they would release new skins. There's a new map with the full release. There's a new agent, a new map, and new skins dropping.
Is the new map 2 or 3 bomb?
I don't know. I would bet anything it's 3 bomb because right now there's 2 bomb maps and 1 3 bomb map. So maybe to balance it out because I'm sick of playing Haven.
Yeah, Haven sucks.
But yeah,
I got a question.
Dummy hype. Hit me with it.
When is the Valorant Battle Royale game mode coming out?
Oh, dude, don't say it.
Don't even. No.
Why did you have to put that into the ether? Like, why did you have to bring that idea into the realm and make it a possibility? If it becomes a thing, Elias, I'm hunting you down.
No, one of my friends were gonna hunt me down if, cause I said the Halo, like last week when I said the Halo Battle Royale was gonna happen.
I really hope Halo doesn't. Actually, I feel like a Halo one would be cool.
There's not been a single good Battle Royale game.
Warzone's close, though. Warzone's close.
Yeah. Well, the gulag mechanic is interesting, I think. I also liked Apex's you can revive your teammates if you're, like, good enough at the game.
Oh, dang, guys. We have, like, this was the Valorant stream, guys. Just kidding. We have, like, 2 minutes left. Elias, you want to talk about anything?
Well, there hasn't been a lot of news, but do look
There's stuff coming up, yeah.
Yeah, there's stuff coming up with the PS5 release and Xbox and Nintendo conferences, and so hopefully, like, we get to see some new announcements.
I'm excited for those Nintendo ports / remasters they mentioned forever ago. The slew of them, like Sunshine 64, etc., all the older games.
Theoretically Prime.
Legend of the Seven Stars, Super Mario RPG.
Not happening ever.
Dude, I would.
Never happening.
I would give anything. There's nothing I would give my firstborn child to Nintendo.
I predict, I don't know exactly, but I think we're going to get a new Fable game. I think we're going to get it. I think we're going to get like a teaser or something.
One can only hope, Elias. Fable 2 is an actual masterpiece. Have you all played it?
Mm-hmm.
I play a little bit of it.
I played all 3 of them.
Actually, I did play Fable 2 and Fable 3.
I played all 3. But Fable 2 is like the standout.
Yeah.
For numerous reasons. And like a Fable made with today's technology and today's, just the advancements that have been made. How old's Fable 2? Does anyone have a date on that? Someone
probably like right quick. I want to say.
Google that right quick, Elias.
We don't have time to Google it, dude.
We got like 30 seconds. Google it.
But I think we're gonna get like surprised a good amount during this whole like Summer of Games Fest thing that's happening.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
That's another thing in the last like 30 seconds here. I'm excited for that because one of my favorite parts of E3 is always Nintendo's Treehouse deal where they kind of do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have their own set. They just air it there. It'll be cool to see what companies come up with their own, like they don't have to like prep for a stage, they can make their own
I know, and that's gonna
thing. Kind of like the way Nintendo does. I don't know if you all watch E3 and see Devolver Digital make their own pre-made. Devolver Digital's stuff is incredible.
Really,
like that woman who leads them each time.
So good.
She's insane. It's really good production though.
No, I do have one final thing. Do you think
you better make it fast, Elias?
Usually they do like game demos and stuff at like on E3's floor. Do you think they're going to do like digital demos for people now?
Probably not.
I
would think that they're just going to do Nintendo Treehouse, like someone plays the game and shows people.
Yeah, they'll just do a run through. Maybe they'll drop a game. They're like, hey, this is in beta now. Go play. or sign up or enter to win a beta key. I don't know, but I
If
don't
someone
think
does do that, though, that's sick.
Yeah,
Big props if they do that.
That'd be tight.
Clubhouse Games comes out Friday. I'm super excited.
Oh, I'm so
Keep plugging it, Jude. Keep plugging it.
I'm
Maybe
trying
you'll
to
get
get
two or three people to play with you.
I want it, dude.
Jude, what all does Clubhouse Games include?
Just look it up.
Oh man, I wanted the spiel. Mancala, that's all you need to know. All right,
If
everyone.
we had more
sign
time.
off. If we had more time.
Stay
Let's blame
safe,
Elias.
social
for this
distance,
one.
you know.
Yeah, social distance. Stay safe. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
Well, that was fun. That was good stuff from Nick and his group. Speaking of good stuff, how you doing, Alex Cutadean? Welcome back.
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing well. I know we have an esports speaker series coming up, so you want to tell us something about it?
Yeah, let's take a look at that. We have Kevin Huang. He's with Twitch. So hey, we stream on Twitch, and we're joined by the partnership account manager. So he does a lot of work with universities and in that partnership process with Twitch. So we have him tomorrow as we record this. That's June 4th. And we look forward to hear from him about how Twitch is being used in universities and other organizations.
It's a very versatile platform for streaming. I know that it does more than just gaming. I know there is a Bob Ross Twitch channel, which is just epic. So
Twitch. Did you remember Justin TV?
Yes, I do remember Justin TV.
So little known fact. Twitch used to be, so Justin TV came first. It was a life blogging. People were basically streaming themselves online, and it was this life blogging platform. But then they found most people were playing games on it, and eventually they spun off Twitch as a part of Justin.tv. And then later they shut down Justin TV, and then Twitch was only gaming. And now since then, they've brought back things like talk shows like we're doing right now, and other kind of general interest topics. And so they've kind of rolled Justin TV back into Twitch. So it's kind of a little interesting history there with all of the content we see on Twitch now, kind of where it came from.
It's a nice full circle. Well, so on another topic, we were going to briefly discuss, earlier in the week we had talked about briefly discussing the PS5 conference that was going to happen tomorrow, but it has been delayed. And I know I'm going to totally get your opinion on it, but I think it's a good move by Sony. I think their intentions seem very genuine, and they seem to not want to distract. I know by delaying that conference, it made a lot of people unhappy. I went and visited after they made the announcement, I went and visited their PS5 Twitter page, and there were some really unhappy people about it who really wanted their gaming. But it seems that they did a really bold move, and it might cost them some fans, but what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, gamers are very passionate. We see it all the time. Ultimately, though, this comes down to, what is gained versus lost, and what, as a company, what is the correct decision for them. We are with the social environment right now, we're as a university we're struggling to find what's the correct message, and how do we address this as an organization. And it's things we think about all the time, but it's really been put in the spotlight right now. And ultimately, this was a launch event. It doesn't, their day-to-day operations as it pertains to this launch event doesn't really interact with the discourse going on today. And they didn't see a sense in changing the focus at this moment in time, and I think it's perfectly fine. And I think nothing is lost if we wait a little bit to see that information. As passionate gamers, we want to see it, but I think as socially responsible gamers, we can understand why they're making that decision.
That's well said. Very well said. I think you're right. I think that they definitely went a good route, and I mean, games will always be there. These games weren't going to be in anybody's hands anyway, so if they put it off for a month, maybe even closer to September, I think they're still going to be fine. But yeah, well put, very well put. So when that happens, we'll definitely report on it, and we will definitely bring you the goods. But until then, we will just watch and wait to see how the world is going to end up after this. So, all right. Well, so we were going to do 5 questions today, and I totally switched it up on Alex at the last minute because I thought maybe we could get some more. Some more interest in a different sort of 4 to 5 statements, and I wanted to do a new kind of back and forth with you called Unpopular Opinions of the Game Industry.
I prepared my 5 questions.
Oh,
so so I could go either way. I did not prepare any unpopular opinions.
That's okay. It was totally last minute.
So if you want to do a popular opinion of a 5-question matchup, we could do that, or we could just do your questions.
No,
your opinions.
My opinions. You'll have opinions on this, man. You'll have opinions. All right, and so yeah, we could do a mashup. I'd be completely fine with that. Completely fine with that.
Let's do it.
All right, so fire away. You can.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. There might be there may be some opinions about this. Okay. Question 1.
Yes.
The game Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic was reworked into what better known title in the United States?
In 6th grade, I toted that manual around like it was gold, and it was one of the coolest games I had played. Still is, but Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yes, that's right. I remember seeing Super Mario 2. I was probably in 3rd grade maybe, and a friend of mine had it, and I'd played Super Mario 1. And I saw that game and I was like, this is unbelievable. It's like they completely reinvented it. And in part they had, because it was a different game. It was like a prototype game for a different franchise. So the original Super Mario Brothers 2, there was a Famicom Disk System game, but Nintendo of America saw it and said it was too hard for American audiences. And it looked dated, so that's how we ended up with what was kind of a prototype game as Super Mario Brothers 2 in the U.S.
So I have to ask you, have you ever played Lost Levels?
I've seen it. I've never played it.
Trust me, it is way too hard for any audience.
Oh, I see. Like what's the word? There's a term for it. Like the Mario Maker games that are just very, very difficult. So I watch these speedrunning, so like Games Done Quick and ESA, which was just last weekend, and they will have these blocks where it's like they'll either have games, so there's entirely new games that will come out that are built to be just incredibly difficult, or you have these like Mario Maker games. And they'll do competitions with them. I love watching people play them. I would be incredibly frustrated.
You learn some new words when you play those type of games. Yeah, I was streaming Lost Levels last week, maybe over the weekend, I can't remember. And that game, I mean, seriously, the original Super Mario Brothers 2 was built for you to lose, like purposely. It was terrible.
My biggest challenge in Mario 2 was jumping on those eggs, and then I could never get past that boss. You have to jump on the egg, pick it up, and throw it, and I just couldn't do that. I think that may have been the first boss. I wasn't very good at it.
If you're Luigi in that game, it is really difficult to time. That's that I can tell you. So that's a good question, though. Really good question. Okay, unpopular opinion. And you got to comment on this.
Okay.
So if you do, the Sega Genesis actually won the 16-bit war and not the Super Nintendo. Do you believe that?
Wait, do I have to take one side or the other, or just give my opinion?
You've got to give your opinion.
Yeah, I think they served two different audiences. The Genesis very much won the early battle because nobody had seen games like that in a home console. So it was, at the very beginning, it was up against the NES, and in that age, there was no comparison. The Genesis was amazing. The hardware, though, in the Super NES, those games, it looked like, from what I remember, the SNES had a deeper color palette. It just, everything about it seemed like the sprites felt bigger, the colors felt more rich. But meanwhile, you were able to have games like more explicit games on the Genesis. So they served different audiences. I was about 12 years old when I got my SNES, and that was the right system for me at that time. But as I got a little bit older, the Genesis felt cooler. So, depends on who you were and what age you were at that time, I think.
A lot of people numerically think the SNES won, and if you're going by numbers, it certainly did. But one of the things that I always tell my classes is that, by the time the Super Nintendo got its legs underneath it and started up and running, the Sega had moved on to the Sega CD and started thinking about optical stuff. So I'm always like, sure, you're going to win a race when you're the only one running it, and everybody else is just kind of like running a different race. So that makes sense. But yeah, there were a lot of moments in the battle between the two, which kind of defined the generation. Mortal Kombat's release being the number one.
Yes. What's the point of playing Mortal Kombat with greater color depth if it's not going to be Mortal Kombat? So, the SNES version of Mortal Kombat might look better in some senses, but it's not the same game.
No, not at all. All right, that was the first one.
That was good.
Thank you.
Okay, question 2. Released in 1996, the Pippin is a console developed by what company?
Once in a while on eBay, I look at this thing and I'm like, it's still over $100. But Apple's Pippin, when they partnered with Bandai to make that system, and it is an awkward system. What do you think of the controllers? They're just the weirdest things in the world.
It's a bizarre looking controller. In manufacturing, they manufactured fewer than 100,000 and only sold 42,000 from what I read. It is a Mac-based platform, so think of running this predated OS 10, so it was running like Mac system 7.5.2, I think.
Oh.
And it was on a 66 megahertz PowerPC processor. But oddly enough, it had a 14.4 modem. So it may have been the first console with a modem. It was I had forgotten that until I read that. But yeah, I don't think of the 42,000 that were sold, I don't think that online community was very robust.
That never made it to America, though, right? That was solely Japan.
That is correct.
Okay, can remember. So that's I didn't know about the modem. 14.4. Wow, that must have been flying. Such an upgrade.
Better than 2400 baud.
Oh yeah, well. I used to have a 1200 baud on my Commodore 64 128. Boy, that flew. That was big time stuff. That was a good question. That was a really, really good question. All right, unpopular opinion. PC elitist have every right to be elitist. What do you think?
I don't think anybody has a right to be elitist.
Come on.
But the PC hardware, it's going occasionally at the very beginning of a launch of a console cycle, you will have consoles that outperform PCs or outperform a standard gaming PC within within a reasonable amount of money to spend. And almost always the performance you see on a console, the price, the dollar for performance is going to be a lot better. But typically on consoles, as a PC gamer, you get, as a PC gamer, you kind of get left behind in a sense because you don't have those exclusive titles. So you see more exclusives, and so oftentimes you're waiting. I mean, we've run a number of Halo release stories for the PC version, and it's like, wait, the Halo revamp for that came 6 years ago on consoles, and now we're getting it on the PC. So you get left behind in a sense of content sometimes. But if you just want raw performance, high resolution, these gaming consoles just recently hit 4K, but if I wanted to game in 4K years ago, I could have done it. If I want to game in 8K today, I could. If I can put enough graphics cards in a system, I can do some stuff in a gaming machine that I could never do on a console. So on the spec sheet, okay, you have a right. You can get bragging rights on a computer, but on the content side, I think you're always going to be better off on the console.
Well, related, do you think? I know the Sony and Microsoft are both looking at taking their major AAA titles into a PC format. I know Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding were going to head to PC this summer. They got delayed. I mean, if that starts happening, will your opinion change then, other than best bang for your buck? I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would. I mean, you've got because there was when the original Halo came out, I was really excited to play it, but I was a PC gamer. I never owned an Xbox, and by the time it got released on a PC, it was old news. So getting access to those titles, we were just talking about The Last of Us, how great that looks. So being able to play that on a PC, and actually, I don't even know. Does Last of Us 2 is that an exclusive PlayStation release?
I believe it is right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the type of game I'd love to play on a PC, and I'd love to kick the graphics up as high as they could go, because that game looks amazing. So yeah, that definitely would help. As we've seen consoles go x86 based, the option to doing that, the door opens up to do that more. So yeah, I'd love to see more of that. And I think gamers benefit the more ways they can access this content.
I think you're right about that, which is nice. I mean, everybody wins ultimately, but yeah. All right, good answer. What you got?
Okay, this is this one you might have to think about a little bit. Over the past 25 years, what game franchise has had the best-selling game of the year the most number of times? So in a calendar year, what franchise has had the number one game the largest number of times?
So you're saying since 95?
Yes.
1995. Oh, my Lord.
And I thought this would be... I think this is a good question because it makes you think, but it's like not even close. The winner is a significant winner. I'm kind of curious if the chat gets it. I was surprised.
Someone's saying Grand Theft Auto. Somebody's saying Call of Duty or Tomb Raider. I think Tomb Raider would be far off. Two Tomb Raiders.
Oh, two Tomb Raiders.
So, are there any winners yet?
I will say, we'll make this multiple choice. One of them is correct.
It's got to be Call of Duty.
You got it. Call of Duty has had 8 titles in the last 25 years that have been the highest selling game that year. And really other franchises, it's the next highest one is Grand Theft Auto with 3. After that, if you combine Mario Kart and Mario 64, Mario's had 2. But yes, Call of Duty had 8. The most interesting part of this, aside from the runaway with Call of Duty, is between 1996 and 2000, it was all N64 games. So that was Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Donkey Kong 64, and Pokemon Stadium.
Oh, not the picture game.
No. But Nintendo just dominated the second half of the 90s. And that was the most surprising part of that.
Well, in everybody else's defense, yes, Pokemon Snap. Thank you, Dylan. When you don't have enough games coming out on your console, every game's going to seem like it's the best game. N64 in its startup really had a struggle with getting games out to public. And I think Ocarina was one of the major ones. Mario was one of the major ones, and they broke barriers with Mario Kart. That was really nice on the 64. So they killed it with first party titles. I mean, it was just, I could see that. I could see why that dominated.
Wave Race did not make the list.
Thank goodness. That was one of the launch titles for the GameCube too, I think. Realistic jelly water. So I remember seeing that at E3. That was good. That was a tough one too, because there were so many different games that really started cropping up at the end of the 90s and into the early 2000s. So that was so many good choices to choose from. I mean, Halo alone, with the Xbox and how people ate that up, that was a big seller. But nice question, very nice. Okay, so the chat's not going to like this next thing, so prepare yourself, they'll expect it to. Horizon Zero Dawn should have won Game of the Year in 2017 instead of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Gosh, I think I saw a lot I didn't play it, but I was amazed by the graphics. I feel like the Zelda games get overrated sometimes. I've never been a huge Zelda fan, and I have got this very I have these negative associations with those N64 Zelda titles because I think the imagery looks so bad, but they are so popular. But the Breath of the Wild looks amazing. But I'm a graphics person, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Is that right? Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yep.
Okay. No, that game looks amazing. I love like all of the creatures and the robotics and just kind of this like futuristic historic kind of crossover. It looked like an amazing game, and I watched a lot of gameplay of that. I don't know, Game of the Year. I think it was a really good game. I would have voted for it, but I didn't play it a ton. Just watched it.
Well, I can tell you the Guerrilla Games made it, and up to that point, Guerrilla Games was only for Killzone. That's all they really were known for. So this got started in development in 2011, and they developed an entirely new engine, which I think either you mentioned or somebody else mentioned that Death Stranding actually uses the same engine that they built. And there's like an 1.5-hour documentary on this game and how it was made, and it's amazing. Like the reason why the graphics pop in so well and there's little to no rendering and textures is that it's line of sight wherever the camera is that the user is using. So when you turn Aloy, the main character, like the graphics for whatever you can see within your frame are the only ones that are actually rendered and ready to go, and everything else is kind of not around her. Mm-hmm. So the camera moves, and I've never seen that before, and I thought it was interesting. But for a company known for just a first-person shooting game that has developed an entirely new IP and new story that is just phenomenal, introduced a lead female character who is also phenomenal. And built this giant, pretty much open world game where you can sit there and explore and do quests and do everything you should be doing in an open world game, was a triumph, I think. And Breath of the Wild has always been kind of a thing that I thought, I don't know, Nintendo saw Skyrim one day and said, hey, that'd be great. We can't fit all the details on that cartridge, so why don't we just make it a Zelda type game where enemies randomly show up, and there's not a lot of newness to how the game feels and how it works, as opposed to other games that came before it that are like it. I don't know. It always left a bad taste in my mouth that people just gobbled it up because it was called Zelda, and just kind of left Horizon Zero Dawn in the past just because it's not called Zelda. But I don't know. There's a lot going for it. You have a PS4, right?
No, I don't. I'm going to lose some cred here. My newest game console is the N64. So I'm a very much a PC gamer.
That is not losing cred. That seems wonderful. I
have the NES. I have the NES Classic Edition as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a broken Dreamcast. The Dreamcast has never worked though. I need a capacitor to solder onto the controller port, I think. So if anybody has a soldering iron I can borrow, I can get a working Dreamcast.
Get on that. You got to. All right. Sorry. All right.
Okay. Question 4. What date was the Dreamcast released in North America?
Man, you're just softballing these in. Just softballing them. That would be September 9th, 1999. 9/9/99.
There you go. You got to say it right. 9/9/99. And actually, for bonus, what was the retail price at launch?
It was $199, wasn't it?
Yeah, $99.99 for $199. And I can't believe when I saw that, because the Saturn launched at like $399 or something.
It did. Yes,
$199 for either systems that predate this or come after it. $199 is an unbelievable price, and this was a breakthrough system on many levels. So
it was.
We could bring up the Dreamcast every episode and just shed a little tear.
You know what killed it was that lack of DVD-ROM. That's what did
true.
it.
That's true, and that'll kill any system. But now that everything's streaming, it's almost like today, if you were to release a system that doesn't support video streaming, it might be kind of the same thing.
Yeah, Nintendo has had no problem maintaining systems without movies being played in them. But I think streaming has changed a lot. Yeah.
The GameCube did have that DVD player.
That was in Japan. That was a Panasonic DVD player.
I've seen since you brought that up. I think my YouTube was listening to our conversation because it suggested a video on that device, and it looks ridiculous.
It's so cool and shiny, though. It's like it could transform into a robot, and you wouldn't be surprised about it. It's so pretty. Yeah, the Dreamcast was nice. What you get a built-in 54 baud modem that you could swap out for a broadband modem. You get a keyboard with it.
VGA. You could get VGA output, a keyboard, and mouse too, I think, and fishing reel.
That was a cool reel. That was a cool game. Yeah, and you being a hardware guy, the innards of that thing were really impressive. I know it had a little pipe that gathered up air to poof something on the GPU if it got too hot, or the CPU. It was like really neat architecture inside of it.
I'll have to open mine up. I wasn't aware of the GPU poof module.
Yeah. It's just it's something. It's weird. It's like it was one of the big sellers of it and how it worked. And like they never overheated, and there was a lot of chipset in there. The Voodoo FX chipset was pretty easily hot back in those days, but it's impressive architecture. I think you'd enjoy it. I know it's the GPU poof module. That's what it's called. That's not what it's called. All right. Okay, so this is I'm going to throw in a movie thing here just because I might have typed this up bitterly after the Nintendo the Breath of the Wild opinion. So Star Wars Episode 1 through 3 are still terrible, regardless of how bad 7, 8, and 9 are. Do you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, those 3 movies for the time were okay, but they relied so heavily, that storytelling aside, they relied so heavily on the computer graphics of the 90s that they did not age well, and they aged the episodes 4, 5, and 6 used so many practical effects that those, even though you go back and watch those, they do not look like a modern sci-fi film, but those effects tended to age better because they used instead of computer graphics, they used really practical techniques, just that optically look better. And then the storylines weren't that great in 1, 2, and 3. I still need to finish the last episode of Star Wars, but
don't do it.
I'm dread. The more and more I wait, the more negative things I hear about it.
It was like a child put together a Lego set from like 7 different Lego sets and didn't stick to the plan, and that is what Episode 9 is. So it is just all over the place, and nothing is identifiable as a finished, like, beautiful story that gels well with the others. But you can't blame J.J. Abrams for the 9th one. You have to sort of... I love Rian Johnson. I do. I have no ill will towards him as a director at all. But I think that he took that Star Wars story way off track. And there was no other way to recover it by 9. So it's too bad. It's too bad. So, but all right, all you.
Okay, I did not look ahead on my questions. So here's question 5. What was the release price of the Sega Saturn?
All right, I'll throw this out there so we can add more beef to this since the answer has already been revealed. I worked at a place called Walden Software, which no longer exists. And it was in the mall here in Lexington. And I remember coming in for my shift and seeing the Sega Saturn set up. And I asked my manager, when did this come out? And he said, today. It was completely unexpected. And I remember when I was like, so how much does this cost? I was earning $5.25 an hour by then. Okay. And he goes, $399. I said, well, I will never buy that, and I'm pretty sure nobody else will either. And sure enough, everybody came in, enjoyed Virtua Fighter demo, and then saw the price tag and ignored it. And just said they were waiting until the PlayStation 1 came out, or the PlayStation at that point. So what a ridiculously priced system.
Yeah, especially coming. What did that come right after the 32? Was it the CD, the Sega CD?
Yeah.
What was the release order? Because I remember they continued to release these modules for. I think the 32X came like right before, just months before the Saturn came out, right?
So yes, well it was close. I think that in '92 the Sega CD came out. Then they looked way ahead to see if they could beef everything up to true 32-bit, because somebody reported it was like EGM or somebody. It was like, okay, you have a 16-bit console on top of a 16-bit CD system, but they don't really talk to each other, so it's not truly 32-bit, and there's some things missing, and Sega panicked, created the 32X, which expanded upon color and on graphic movement, especially after seeing like the 3DO and all the other CD-based systems that were kind of showing up at the time. And so they sold that with it. And then they realized this is a whole bunch of stuff that nobody's going to continue to buy. Kalinske at the time with Sega of America wanted to keep pushing to combine everything into one system they could sell. Sega of Japan had other plans, and they just wanted to scrap everything Sega of America was doing and build the Saturn, and so they did. And the rest is history, as they say. That is a terrible system. It had some beautiful moments, but overall, just a terrible system.
As a 2D game, I'm a big street fighting game fan. It was great for that. I know that much.
And it was best. It was best for fighting. I tell you.
It launched X-Men versus Street Fighter. Yeah, X-Men versus Street Fighter came out on that.
Yes, it was so good. And there were so many that it was Street Fighter. Yeah, it was Street Fighter versus X-Men, and the Japanese import featured one of the newscasters from Tokyo, who was apparently popular at the time, and he was a playable character. Amazing guy. Such an amazing character too. So much fun to beat people with. But they did really well with that. There's some other games that came out on it, like Dragon Force was one of the best strategy games to ever grace the system that came out on it. And they had a couple others, but overall the system really didn't do that well, and they knew it. People hated programming for it. So, but anyway, that's all I only had 4, so I'm glad you had 5.
Good.
So
well, we're right on time, so I think that's a wrap.
That is a wrap. Well, thank you very much for playing both games.
Thank you.
And we will continue this next time. So, everybody, please be safe, and we hope you have a good week. And thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you next week. See ya.